Welcome to episode 23 of In the Abstract, the Lakeland Title podcast. I'm your host, Brian Johnson, the founder and owner of Lakeland Title. And for this episode, we're going to talk about some of the things that are going on with real estate commissions, specifically the court cases that are going on and what the Department of Justice and the FTC are doing regarding real estate commissions. And for that, we have a special guest. He is Rob Hahn. He is a Yale graduate and a graduate of the NYU School of Law, who now is the managing partner of 7DS Associates, which is a real estate consulting firm. He's also the host of Notorious POD, which is his podcast, and he's going to kind of walk us through everything that's going on and the future of real estate commissions. So I hope y'all enjoy the episode. So, welcome to the podcast, Rob Hahn, or should I call you Notorious ROB?
I answer to either one, sir.
Yeah.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for doing this. We really appreciate it. So a lot of my audience is in the real estate industry, either they're lenders or realtors or other people in the title industry. And so I wanted to kind of talk to you because I heard you on other podcasts and read some of your articles and things like that about some of these real estate commission lawsuits, and kind of wanted to have you fill us in on that and kind of get your take on it and what is going on with all that.
Okay, so let's get a couple of caveats out the way early, right?
Yeah.
You're an attorney. I'm a retired attorney. I am a retired member of the New York Bar, but I am not an attorney, and I'm certainly not anyone listening's attorney. So none of this legal advice. They should consult with their own lawyers, etc. Number two,
but you went to a pretty good law school, though.
It's
a little bit.
Yeah. Number two, I'm not an antitrust specialist. This is not what I do for a living necessarily. So I don't know if there've been like real recent changes, in the last couple of weeks, but I have been paying attention to all of these lawsuits as much as possible because I'm in the real estate industry and this obviously affects the industry. So having said that, and number three, I think most people would think that I'm probably the most bearish on the outcome of these cases for the industry. I actually think there's some real bad things headed our way. It doesn't mean I want them to head our way. It doesn't mean that I'm, cheering for the FTC or the plaintiffs. I'm just looking at it. And from my perspective, I think things don't look great. So let's just get those three things out the way. Having said that, where are they? Well, Sitzer, I can't remember. I know it's no longer called Sitzer. There's a new lead plaintiff in that lawsuit. That's the Missouri lawsuit. Just got, certified as a class action lawsuit. There's the original case is called Merle out of Illinois, and chances that's also going to get certified as a class action at some point, whenever that comes around. And my suspicion is that those two cases will have to get merged, right? Because it's basically the same defendants, same case, same legal theory. It's the same. Why are we doing it in two federal district courts? It's probably going to get merged to some mega lawsuit, and then I assume that the plaintiff's bar is not filled with idiots. So I assume there are cases that are being prepared to be filed right now so that when that sort of joinder happens, it'll consolidate all the cases from all across the country. That's kind of my expectation right now. And I think we see that probably later this year.
Okay.
There are a bunch of other lawsuits, but the commission lawsuits, those two are the real important ones. Leader, which was the buyer side commission. So the two seller side commission lawsuits were Merle and Sitzer, and then the major one that was claiming that the buyers are owed, something, was called Leader versus NAR, and it was filed in the same court in Illinois that was hearing Merle. So of course the judge is like, no, it's a case dismissed because I'm already dealing with this over here on the seller side. So we'll see what happens with that, but that is now been dismissed.
Okay. Gotcha. And so what are they suing over? What are these suits about? Like, how are they?
Fundamentally, it's about cooperation compensation, right? We've known in our industry, the age-old practice is what? The seller pays the listing agent a commission, 6%, 5%, whatever it is. The listing agent then goes to the MLS and says, hey, if you bring me a buyer, I will share some of this commission with you, right? And to make a long story short, that practice is being attacked. And the claim is that this is anti-competitive for a number of reasons because of NAR's rules and all this other stuff. And we could get into the details and nitty-gritty of that. But fundamentally saying that it's anti-competitive and that sellers overpaid and therefore they are owed some money back. That's basically what the claim is.
And so if these lawsuits are successful, does that mean, how does that change things as the way the buyer's agents are paid?
It really depends on what the judgment is, right? What the plaintiffs are asking the court to do is to issue an injunction against sharing commissions, right? It could be that. It could simply be the court just says, you know what, NAR's rules are prohibited, right? So NAR has a bunch of different rules, like the mandatory unilateral offer of compensation. Maybe that goes away, so it's no longer mandatory, right? So you can offer whatever you want. There are MLSs right now that have already done that, right? That have already moved to that. Say, listen, you have to pay, you have to offer compensation, but it could be $1, right? Northwest MLS, I think, actually says you don't have to offer compensation if you don't want to, right? And yet most agents still do. So it may be that we'll see how that court comes out, right? So if it's simply that the MLS cannot mandate compensation, then I think the impact is fairly low, because as you and I both know, social, network pressure. If you're the guy, it's like, hey man, I'm selling this, but I'm not offering any compensation. You don't want to be that asshole, right? You don't want to be that guy.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, everybody's going to want, give him some reason to show your listings.
Right, pretty fast. The issue is a big part of these lawsuits are claiming steering, right? The central claim to this is that buyer agents steer their clients away from listings that aren't offering the full equal compensation. So I do think that whatever judgment comes, they're not stupid, right? None of those lawyers are stupid, number one. Number two, the Department of Justice already made an issue of this, and the FTC has made an issue of this. So I suspect that the judgment might be something along the lines of, not only is the mandatory rule no longer prohibited, we're actually going to prohibit the practice of sharing commissions at all, right? To get rid of the buyer steering problem. So there will be buyers have to pay their own agents and sellers pay their own agents. I think that's probably how it's going to come down.
Is steering really something that happens? Because I've never seen
that.
For sure. I really see. I've never seen that.
For sure it happens.
The buyer wants a house, they want a house. You're not going to say, don't get that one.
Dude, it absolutely happens.
Really?
The only question is, how widespread is it? Right. In other words, look, I could go on Facebook right now and probably go to some real estate Facebook group and find some moron agent out there complaining, I can't believe this agent only offered whatever 1.5%. I'm never showing that house to any of my clients. Like, you'll literally have agents posting their L's online. So of course it happens, right? The question is, are we talking about like, is this 60% of the agents, 70% of the agents, or more like 1% of the agents, right? Like, there's no studies on that. Nobody knows, you know what I mean? But from that perspective, and I've written about this, the damaging thing for the industry is that we have coaches, real estate coaches for decades. And in fact, Keller Williams was written up about this in the Houston Chronicle, where their coaching training materials literally tell agents when the client, and that's the seller, right, protest about the commission, they say, well, these 6% seems awful high. They are coached to tell them, listen, it's not me. It's that if you don't offer the buyer agent at least 3%, they're never going to show your house. So if that's like written into our training materials, it's a little hard for then us to claim, look, this only happens like in a very tiny 1% of the time. I've never seen it happen. It's hard to say that when our training materials are literally telling agents to go tell their clients that. So we'll see what happens. I think there's going to be a fact fight, in court. They'll bring in expert witnesses to testify. This happens all the time. This almost never happens. Who knows how it's going to shake out.
And then you had mentioned Department of Justice and FTC. How are they involved?
The Department of Justice has always been involved, right? I have a number of theories about it, but basically, Department of Justice sued NAR 2 years ago, last year, around 4 items. They came to a settlement, and then the new administration came in, and they walked away from the settlement, which has never been done before, right? Like, the Department of Justice never actually gotten to that point. Now, They were legally allowed to do this. There's a 60 or 90-day sort of public comment period for any legal settlement, but they've never walked away from a settlement. They did this time.
Oh, wow.
In response, NAR has sued the Department of Justice. Okay. Here's why I think that's relevant. I know regulators. I went to law school with a lot of them. A lot of them ended up at FTC, SEC, OCC, various regulatory agencies. They're not used to people being regulated, challenging them. Right? What they're used to is when they go and tell a company to jump, the company's response is how high, right? They're not used to the company resisting. They're not used to company fighting back. In this case, NAR's definitely fighting back. They're suing DOJ to enforce some of the promises, some of the agreements that they had during the settlement. We'll see how that goes. I can't imagine a federal court holding against the DOJ in this instance, but who knows? Maybe it'll happen. But what that says to the DOJ and the FTC, and they work hand in hand, right, is that NAR is being difficult, and I think they will seek to make an example out of them. So it's not even the DOJ. That's not the real action even anymore. I think the real action is at the FTC. Why? So if you remember last year, sort of early on in his administration, President Biden issued an executive order on competition dealing with big tech, right? With social networks, blah, blah. And the big talk was around Amazon and, Netflix and Facebook and all these things. There's a new chair of the FTC, right? Lina Khan, who is like a 34, 35-year-old law professor from Columbia. She has a theory around how competition law should be modified, antitrust law should change given technology. Okay, so all the attention was focused on this big tech antitrust issues. Buried in this executive order, I think it's section 5H, it literally orders the FTC to go look at regulating real estate brokerages and real estate listing services. No one paid attention to this because it's, nobody cares about that when you're talking about Facebook, Amazon, right? Nobody's thinking about real estate. I'm reading this like, okay, that's an executive order. That's not a senator writing a letter. That's not a suggestion. That's not a request for investigation. That is an executive order from the president. The FTC has no choice but to obey executive orders. So I think those boys and girls are probably writing up regulations or investigating what needs to be regulated right now as we speak. They've been looking at this commission issue probably for 20 years, right? But I know the last time I personally went and attended a meeting, and I want to say in 2018, I believe it was, maybe 2017. I could look it up. And I wrote about it on my blog, right? Where the DOJ and the FTC had a joint workshop talking about real estate commissions and competition in real estate. They're hand in glove. They're two sides of the same coin. DOJ is sort of the enforcement arm. FTC is the regulatory arm. They're both after this. So I actually think even the lawsuits aren't that big a deal. Okay. Right. I think the big deal is when the FTC promulgates regulations. And I think those regulations are coming in the next 3 years. And I suspect those regulations will be something along the lines of sharing of commissions are no longer allowed.
So does that mean the death of real estate commissions altogether, or how are we?
I think it means the death of buy-side commissions, right? I think listing agents, because one of the things, the points I like to make is this, right? Like, would you ever pay commission to somebody to help you buy something? Probably not, right?
I mean, I personally would, but
no, I mean, just if you think about it, if I'm hiring someone to help me buy something, I want them to make the price as low as possible, right? But if they're being paid a commission on the price of the object, like that doesn't make any sense, So I think buy side, it's going to go more towards like an hourly rate, like an attorney, or maybe a fee based, or maybe some sort of bonus, like, hey, list price is this, whatever you save me, I'm going to pay you on the savings, something along those lines. I can't imagine on the buy side, it'll be, I'm going to pay a commission based on the price of the thing you just helped me buy, right? On the sell side, though, on the listing side, the seller is happy to pay a commission, right? Why? Because you're going to work to give me the highest price possible. So I don't think it's the end of real estate commissions. I do think it's the end of buy side commissions.
Okay, yeah. So things will change in the way that those commissions are calculated, or how buyers are paid, but they'll still get paid.
they'll still get paid. I mean, I think. Now, will they get paid as much? I don't know. Would it be better for them? I actually think it could end up being better for them because look, obviously my wife's a broker. Like all my friends are realtors. One of the biggest problems working with buyers is you just work your ass off and you hope that the transaction happens, right? Well, if that's the case and you're just going to spend 80 hours over 3 weekends driving some buyer around only to have that buyer just change his mind at the last minute, like you just worked for free for nothing. For those people, I'm like, wouldn't it be better if you're getting paid $100 an hour?
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
So maybe it'll actually end up being better for buyer agents as well. But the challenge there is going to be, it's going to be awful hard to convince some buyer to pay you $100 an hour if you just got your real estate license last week. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Whereas if you're 30-year veteran, you know everything about a neighborhood, look, maybe you're worth $500 an hour, So again, just like lawyers, right? Some lawyers can charge $1,000 an hour. Some lawyers can't. I mean, it's based on sort of your market demand, your experience level, blah, blah, blah. I think it'll be very similar with real estate agents on the buy side.
It'll be interesting to see that change because we've been doing it this way for so long. It'll be interesting to see that changeover. I think there'll be a lot of resistance.
Oh, I'm sure there'll be resistance. And again, I'm not saying this is like a positive or we should welcome this. I'm just saying this is what I'm seeing coming, right? You just look at what's been done. You look at the court cases. I mean, the Department of Justice intervened in something like 6 lawsuits against NAR in the last 2 years. Intervened. Nobody asked them. Court didn't go and ask them. They just, out of nowhere, just say, hey, here's a statement of interest of the federal government. And they all of them went against NAR. So, I'm like, just read the signs and I just feel like things are coming, and they're not going to be great for us.
Where do you think that's coming from? Because the NAR is one of the biggest lobbying kind of groups out there. They have kind of a lot of sway. Where is this targeting coming from?
It's coming from sort of the intellectual elites, right? So academics, think tanks have been railing against high costs of commissions for at least 20 years that I'm aware of, right? You can go and read papers from like NBER, the National Bureau of Economic Research, talking about how steering effects, keep commissions really high and all of those types of things. I mean, remember the book Freakonomics? What was that written? Like 1991?
Oh yeah, something like that. Yeah,
something like that. Like that was real estate agents, don't help you improve the price of your home and all this stuff. Like this has been going on for a long, long time, right? And I think to some extent, it's the NAR. They're still very influential. They're still very powerful, and I think they still have a lot of friends on the Hill. So it may be that there might be a legislative response that could get crafted to this, but it's fairly clear to me that the administrative agencies are, they have sharpened their daggers for NAR and they're coming. So I think that's where it's coming from. It's been around for 10, 20 years.
That's fascinating. Do you see any other big changes coming other than this? Like, are there anything else you're seeing on the horizon that we should be looking for?
Yeah, there are a few. I mean, there's the lawsuit, Rex versus Zillow, right? It really shouldn't be called Rex versus Zillow. It should be called Rex versus NAR because that's who they're really suing around certain of the MLS rules around not commingling. As a result of that, Rex went out of business. So I think their damage is going to be pretty clear, which is the value of the company, right? And in that case, the judge had initially dismissed the lawsuit, and then the Department of Justice came in and intervened, and then the judge did a 180, right? So I feel like they're going to win a trial. I feel like they're going to win. So that's one. There's a case called PLS versus NAR. And that's a fascinating one because, again, here's a one where at the district court, they dismissed the case, right? They appealed to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals reversed the dismissal and then writes this long-ass opinion that's basically a roadmap for the PLS lawyers to argue at the district court. They're like, okay, well, guess what? I mean, they're not idiots. They're just going to, hey, look, here's the Court of Appeals opinion. I'm just going to recite that to you. And the district court's going to go, hey, guess what? You win.
And what was that case over?
That case was over clear cooperation policy. So, as you know, as all of your listeners probably know, NAR in 2018 passed this policy that says you must put in all of your listings into the MLS Clear Cooperation Plan within 24 hours, 48 hours, whatever. PLS is the private pocket listing service, and their business basically went away after that policy was passed. So they sued, lots of damages, whatever. And it looks like they're going to win, right? Because the Ninth Circuit came back and was like, this doesn't work, right? You're not allowed to do this. Again, they could be dead wrong, but here's the issue. Now, if you're NAR, you lose a district, you're going to appeal it to the Ninth Circuit that wrote the argument for the plaintiffs at the district court and reversed and remanded.
Yeah, that's true.
You're not winning. Well. You're not winning at the Ninth Circuit, which means you have to take it to the Supreme Court. And as you and I both know, the Supreme Court does not have to hear your case. And I don't think they're going to grant cert on something like this because there's no.
Yeah, it's too niche. Yeah.
Right. So if the Ninth Circuit has done this, guess what? All the other, circuits are going to go, yeah, you know what? We're going to sue NAR on clear cooperation. So that's another big one. And I think those are kind of the real big legal sort of industry-wide issues that are happening. But it does, and all of it suggests is some major disruption, major changes. And I mean, I'm doing podcasts like this. I'm doing my own. I'm writing because I've been talking about this really since the day Merle was filed, saying that this is like a real serious threat. And look, and most brokers and agents, I think, are nowhere near ready for something like this. Nowhere near ready. So look, more we can get the word out, and not saying you should cheer for this, you should be worried, you should panic. No, just prepare. Just prepare, right? Just at least think about, hey, if this happens, what do I do?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think a lot of people a lot of agents don't really know that this is going on and what could be coming in the future. And so, right. Yeah, knowing about it and being prepared for it would definitely be helpful.
That's right. That's all. It's just at this point, and again, if you're prepared, it doesn't happen, then what have you lost? Right. I mean, you live in Louisiana, I lived in Houston, I used to have three weeks of water, right? 3 months of food.
Yeah.
And a backup generator because hurricanes do happen. Right?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And you know what? If it doesn't, then fine. I have a generator. What I lose really, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those things.
True.
Yeah.
Well, in another topic, off this topic, but industry related, what do you think about the recent resignation of the Keller Williams CEO?
I hadn't paid any attention. Which CEO? The new guy that was brought in?
Yeah, I mean the latest one. Yeah.
Jeez, I hadn't heard about it. So okay. I guess I'll say I have no reaction.
Okay.
I wonder why he resigned.
Yeah, I mean I haven't looked into it that much. I just saw the email from Gary Keller about it, but that's as much as I've dived into it. I didn't know if it was.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm not in Gary's Christmas list. So. I don't know if he's going to be sending me any emails. Although I respect the living hell out of Gary Kelly. He's like, Hall of Fame, first ballot Hall of Fame for real estate, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's one of the great pioneers and entrepreneurs. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm not one of his favorite people on the planet.
Oh, yeah.
Anyone who's ever read my blog, knows what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah. A lot of people have opinions on Gary, so everybody got different thoughts.
He's a great man.
Oh yeah,
that's all. He's a great man.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
All right.
So, how about a couple fun off the wall questions?
Sure.
Okay. First one is, do you own any Bitcoin?
I do.
You do? Oh, okay. When did you get into that?
I'm a big Bitcoin maxi.
Awesome. I love to hear it. Me too.
You are as well? Right on.
Love Bitcoin.
Austrian economics?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Who do you follow? Whose advice do you really find compelling in the blockchain Bitcoin world?
Well, I mean, of course, the king, Michael Saylor.
Of course.
Anything. So him a lot. There's a bunch of different Bitcoin podcasts I listen to. Trying to think of who else.
Breed Love, of course.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm finding a lot from oh God, what's his name? The Canadian guy, Greg Foss. Greg Foss out of Canada. He's really impressive.
And I'm all over Bitcoin Twitter, so I'm always reading Bitcoin Twitter.
Right on. No, I'm all about Bitcoin because this dollar system. I'm sorry, it just can't. So I used to say, and I still say right now, that I don't think home prices have gone up. You know, people talk about home prices are 19%. I don't think home prices have gone up. I think the dollar's devalued.
Yeah, I agree. And I tell other lawyers all the time, like if you're not indexing your hourly rate for inflation, like you were losing money. Like
that's right.
Like you should index your hourly rate for inflation plus the knowledge and experience you gained.
That's right.
And so, but a lot of lawyers are still have their same hourly rate they had, 20 years ago. It's like you are losing money. Like everything else goes up, your hourly rate should go up too.
I completely agreed. So, all right, that's an easy one.
Okay, next off the wall one is, do you believe in aliens?
I do not.
Okay.
I do not believe in aliens. Now, again, like a lot of things, I could be wrong, but I guess I feel like if there were alien, or no, you know what? Let me rephrase that. I don't believe in aliens that are more technologically advanced than we are. In other words, if there are aliens, they're less technologically advanced than we are, because otherwise we would have met them by now.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it's possible. Yeah.
Right.
No, I agree with that. I mean, I think they're out there. A question of how advanced they are, and I don't think they've ever visited us.
Right.
At least not since modern technology has been around. They haven't visited us, because I don't think the one thing that all countries on the planet could agree on is that we're going to keep aliens secret. I just don't think that would be the one thing.
Right. That doesn't make sense. And it's entirely possible that we humans are the most advanced species in the entire universe. That's just as logical, right? As, but then again, there's that other, God, what is the Fermi paradox? There's a concept. My memory is gone because I'm old, but there's a concept that goes something like this: that every civilization reaches a point where they have the power to destroy themselves. And basically the reason why we haven't seen aliens, like colonizing the earth or visiting us or whatever, is because most of them destroy themselves before they crossed over that threshold to start doing long-range space exploration. Like, that's interesting too, because
it is. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that. That is interesting.
Yeah, because look at the way we're acting. So
True. Yeah.
Gotta have fun about it, man.
Oh yeah.
Gotta laugh about it.
Oh well, I really appreciate you being on the show and
it's my
time
pleasure.
out of your schedule for this. Very informative and fascinating, and so I'm sure all my listeners enjoyed it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Like I said, the goal for me doing this is we got to get the word out because the industry is not ready. And if people want to come visit, like I'll show my website because I don't make money on it.
Yeah. Where can
come on by? It's notoriousrob.com. Okay. So come find me there. Read up all the articles. Most of the stuff I've written on this are free and not in the VIP or anything. So get ready. That's all. Yeah. Get ready.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, Brian. It was a real pleasure.
Oh yeah. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Well, I hope y'all enjoyed that episode. I know I found Rob's insights very interesting. If you need to find Rob, you can find his company website at 7dsassociates.com. He also has his own podcast called Notorious POD, so you can give that a listen. Or if you want to read some of his articles, you can find those at notoriousrob.com. All of his socials and as well as my socials will be down in the show notes. If you're listening to this on a podcast platform, please give us a good rating and subscribe so you can stay up to date on future episodes. And if you're listening on YouTube, feel free to give us a like, leave a comment, and subscribe also so you can stay up to date on future episodes. If you have any suggestions, you can leave those in the comments. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're listening, you can send us your suggestions at podcast@brclosing.com, and we will see y'all next time.